So we're going to finish the session, if you like, by tying a wet fly wing. I've actually got a pair of teal feathers here, which are what they call the primary feathers. So they're the, just hold up a wing. So these are the primary feathers.
Hello?
And they're the ones we're
Okay,
going
hang on.
for.
Sorry.
These are secondary feathers, tertiaries. So we're going to use a matched pair of teal feathers or mallard, whatever you've got handy. And we're going to start off the Blae black, which, as I said to Mark, is essentially a black panel with a wing on it. So we'll start off with the tail. Take a few fibers of golden pheasant tippet. Okay, so I'm going to put in a piece of silver oval tinsel and just poke it so it slopes down, and then wind this along
So
the body.
you've rolled that round up underneath that wire with your thumb.
Yeah, the silver oval is underneath.
Yeah, and then the silver wire would be maybe on the side?
Um,
Or underneath?
Depends on the thickness, actually. If it doesn't show, then it really doesn't matter. But oval, obviously, being a little bit thicker, will is best put underneath. And then we're just going to put, let's see how many turns we can get on there. 3 turns.
And you could do a floss body, or would you just
Floss
leave it as
body,
thread?
yeah, certainly, yeah. Should have mentioned that.
What's the advantage of a floss body again, Mark, over the thread?
None other than it would be slightly thicker. So on a bigger fly, maybe instead of going back 2 or 3 times,
you keep it in proportion more easily with a floss because it bolts it out on a bigger fly. Okay.
black hen hackle or cock if you haven't got the hen hackle. Just going to put 2 turns on here.
That's a hen hackle there, Mark, is it? And
Yeah,
you're not tying it in by the tip because it's fairly slim stem.
that's right. just held that. It's 2 turns, and now let's sort out the front. So what we've got now is a black panel, essentially, but what we're going to do is just poke the top side of that hackle down in order to tie in the wing.
And that so it doesn't shoot up like a skyscraper, is it?
Yeah, right, okay.
Staying reasonably flat.
Now then, in order to show the wing off, we've got, if I just turn it round, you'll see the feather coming away. So it's not straight.
It's like a ship's sail in essence.
I'm not sure if I'm showing that right.
Yes,
on the camera, but can you see the way that feather is turning away?
So as you're holding it now, the wind, if that was a sail, would be hitting it from the right-hand side and blowing it out. There's a curve in there.
Yeah. So it's not straight on the quill. There's a definite sort of tilt. And the other thing we have to watch out, I'm not sure again if this is picking up well. Can you see there's a sort of a run of lighter material at the front?
Yes, yeah, you can see there's a ridge there.
Can you see the ridge?
Yeah, you can see the ridge, yeah.
Yeah.
Why does one need to be conscious of that ridge?
Right, because if I take one single feather, fiber, if you look at the profile, see how wide it is?
Yes.
Yeah. So that corresponds with that sort of ridge there, and it's not easy to tie.
You want to be at the more far end at the tip of the fibers. Yeah. Okay. I did not know that. Never knew that.
Right. Okay. Now I'll just tie the wing, and then we'll look at the different options as we go on. But what I'm looking for is to avoid, you can see it there, in fact. Can you see the line?
Yes.
So we're going to tie the wing and try and avoid that line. So I'm just going to take out a section from each wing, and I'm aiming for probably about 10 fibers or so. So not very wide at all. The reason why is if I took a big chunk, something like that, and I tied that in, that would be too much. So I'm going for something a little bit slimmer.
Is that just slightly over half the gape of the hook mark if you held.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I would say, what's that? 2 centimeters.
Mm.
I'm taking.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just going to take a little bit more off the other one. The reason being is if I match them up, this one versus that one, just put the tips together, turn it over. You'll see that one obviously is bigger than the other, wider. And what we're going to do is, okay, match the tips up. You can see there's a little bit of an overlap on the one feather. So I'm going to.
From the farthest one, you can see it's just a fibre toothpick or something.
Just going to pick that out.
Maybe 2 fibres then.
Yeah. So they're both the same thickness. Right, now then, another little headache session. Potentially there are 4 different ways of tying this wing in place. We can have the curve of the feather pointing up, like so. We can have the curve of the feather pointing down, like so. Or we could turn the feather and have the wings pointing out. I'll show you an example later on. I prefer to have that wing as low over the body as possible, as it's a wet fly. So instead of the wing pointing up, like so, I prefer the wing to slope down as low as I can to the body as possible. Why? Because when you're fishing that fly, it's not spinning around, and I think you have a better presentation of fly when it's in that profile. It'll just fish that little bit lower. So I've just moved all the hackle down. I'm just going to put this wing just slightly beyond the bend of the hook. So I'm happy with the length. I'm then going to grip with my left hand the whole feather, pull the silk up, and just, if you can see this on camera, just hook it in between my thumb and my forefinger, and then pull down on the silk down and towards me, and then another turn forward, so we're running towards the eye, and what that should do then is hold that feather in place. We can just cut that feather off in bits. That turn came off then. So what we're hoping for is when we take it out of the vise, and if I show you that in profile, that the wing is dead level at the top of the shank. It's not too thick, and it's sitting at a sort of nice sloping level. Now, I said about there being different ways of tying a wing. I'll come to the first one. If I tied the wings with the slope of the feather up, can you see how the profile has changed?
Yeah. So that everyone, the end of the feather, the tips aren't sloping down, they're sort of pointing upwards. If you look at the leading edge of the feather on both flies, that's probably what you'd see in most shops, is the one that Mark's holding in his hand.
That's right. I'm not saying that is wrong in any way at all. I just find they do tend to spin around a little bit more when you're casting them.
And when you tie your own, you've got your own choice whether you like
Yeah.
that. But Jason, I saw you were about to say yes, you probably sell them with the wings up like that. Is that right? I think you're muted there.
I mean,
yes.
To be honest, you would be surprised how many people tie. Well, commercial flies are all tied with those wings pointing up.
Yeah.
And I honestly, personally, don't think it's the way they should be tied. The other way, we talked about the feather being you can tie it in 4 ways. If I just turn the fly around, can you see the wings have split and are pointing away from each other?
Yeah.
So that's the natural curve of each feather when you're putting them together, chaps, just away from each other. And the one that's in the vise, the curve is coming together. I like the look of that fly that Mark's holding in his hand now.
There is nothing wrong with this particular style at all. And certainly I've used that style on sooty olives, and it's a really good top dropper pattern.
I was just thinking sooty olive when you held it up. Got really
Yeah.
excited there.
Is that clear? I can't really see what's coming out on the camera, but
I think it is, chaps. Can you see? It's all split.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
The only thing with this particular pattern here, where the curve of the wing is pointing up, if you tied a fly with the leading point down, it doesn't work. So essentially you've got you've got 4 different ways you can tie the wing. So leading edge up, down, then the natural curve in or out. The only one which doesn't work is with this one, where the curve is pointing out and you've got the leading edge of the tip pointing down. So essentially you have 3 different ways of tying a wet fly wing which work.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Is there any variants that have, I feel like putting a little yellow butt on that for some unknown reason.
Oh, that pattern.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. Yeah, put a hot spot on there. Why not put a sooty olive seal's fur body on it and call it a Blae sooty olive?
Yeah.
That's it. Where else can you go with that?
Maybe a bit of jungle cock to jazz it up.
A jungle cock slip in that would look superb. You could tie that with a silver tinsel body now, and then again, you know.
They're myriad, aren't they? The variants on this.
Yeah. But you know, we're talking about the processes, if you like.